Welcome back to another review, this time for the Donghua, the All-devouring Whale Homecoming. This one had 12 episodes and was airing in spring of 2025. We have the synopsis on AnyList. Fang Lingxiao, a gifted spirit pet master, was ambushed in the A-level sect promotion competition and devoured by his own spirit Kun. When he woke up, he found himself reincarnated into a young man named Liu Fengmang and imprisoned in the White Mansion. His sect, Lingxiao Pavilion, was also in dire straits. In order to find out the truth about the backlash to the spirit Kun and revive the sect, Fang Lingxiao takes his existing spirit pets and embarks on a new adventure with Guilai, Sheng Shi, and Yue Tong. Sorry for the pronunciation there. Like the synopsis is saying, the overarching story is that we have a guy, Fang Lingxiao, who, is the master and the more or less the one that made the Lingxiao Pavilion. And he was in an A-level sect promotion. I'm assuming this is the highest rank you can get. Maybe there's a bigger one, I do not remember. However, something went wrong and his spirit, killed him. You do see his spirit was a whale. And for some reason he got killed. Now he got reincarnated in the Liu Fengmang body, and his pavilion after he died, because he more or less carried the pavilion on his back. He was the only strong person there, seemingly. His pavilion more or less hit rock bottom. Get picked on by everyone, is not really a pavilion anymore, not really a sect anymore. So the idea is we go back as Liu Fengmang, we start getting a new pet, the similar he had before, a catfish. We try to rise up in the ranks again, become the biggest clan or the highest rated sect that is there. And on the side, we try to find out what really happened, because his spirit Kun, something went wrong, and that is why he attacked him. And it seems like someone else had a hand in it. So that is the overarching idea. Now, the main part of the show is that it is similar to like Pokemon, Digimon, of that you have like trainer and they have like pets. And those pets, they fight each other. So you send out like in Pokemon. However, the trainer itself can also interact in the fight. So the trainer could join in and start throwing punches. So you can take part with like martial arts, or some of the trainers have like special abilities. They can control stuff, and they can control their pets if need be. So it is a lot more interactive than only sending out your pet and being the cheering squad. So that is the the fighting in the show, and this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest strengths are the pets. There are a lot of different pets we get to see, a lot of interesting designs, interesting abilities. I do love the pet system. As example, he has a catfish. Now, his whale, his old spirit Kun, was a catfish. And he also gets a new catfish called Nia, and he raises that catfish. Now, catfish, I believe they were looked down on because they are pretty useless, or they are hard to train. No one really knows how to get them, stronger. Because he already had one, he knows how he can get his catfish stronger. And the catfish doesn't really do much at the beginning. What he can do is eat, and he can eat a lot. It's similar to like Kirby, where he can just eat enemies. He doesn't get his the enemy's abilities. However, that is how he gets stronger. And at the end, seemingly, of the catfish evolution is like the big whale. Now, we also have different other pets. This is only one. We have like a panda. Panda's my, the one I like the most, because whenever he got introduced, he was badass. He had a badass ability. He was badass. It is interesting. The panda was more or less one of the biggest highlights for me. We have also different, we have like a fire fox, we have like an ice fox, and they can fight together. As example, we have like a butterfly, not butterfly, butterfree from Pokemon. Similar pet in here as well. Very cute, very adorable. We have like a little dog that is going to pee on enemies, but that pee has special abilities, and seemingly all the abilities you want. I don't know how it works, but the dog can do that. We have like a little cactus who has like long arms, who's pretty adorable. Generally, Leo Fang Mang, he had like a couple pets. His pets are all cute. I don't know why, but that is, he has cute pets. And a catfish, who is also cute. He only has cute pets. So yes, this is the idea. The idea is, hey, we have pets. We go back to the Ling Xiao pavilion. We try to grow it back, find out what happened, and that is the end goal of the story, seemingly at the moment. Now we go back. We meet up with those three people. The Ling Xiao pavilion, hit rock bottom. People left. They got picked on. They are more or less like a shadow of their former selves. So he comes back. He's like, "Yo, let's go," and he's trying to support. He doesn't want to tell them that he is Fang Ling Xiao, because he assumes that there could be a traitor in the pavilion. He doesn't know if there's one, but he assumes, because how else can someone interact with his spirit pet Kun, and was able to more or less set a trap. So he assumes someone in the pavilion did it. I assume no one did it in the pavilion, but I don't know. So he comes back. He's like, "Hey, let's get some new pets." This is when we get introduced to Panda Boy. And, take part in the D-class tech promotion tournament. Now, I do not remember how many ranks there are. I assume D is like the first big rank, but that is more or less the second half of the show, is the big tournament. Now you take part. If you win, you are going to be, promoted to D-sect, and that means you are just better, I guess. I don't really know what it entails. Do you get money? Do you get better anything? But I feel like in Chinese media, the ones that I have consumed, I read like a couple of wuxia, sorry for the pronunciation, novels like a couple years ago, and it feels like it is mostly about like rank and how people see you, how much what is it called, how much rank you have, how much not vision f me how well people see you in essence. I also have the feeling, this is shown here as well, that it is very common, at least in the media, for higher rank people to punch down on lower ranking ones. It feels like it is very common. There are a lot of people also in this show which are, you could call them evil or bad, but they are just using their higher rank and their higher standing to punch down on, as example, the Tianxia Pavilion or anyone who is lower than them. And I feel like this is very common in media, at least. I don't know about Chinese culture, but in media, it is portrayed very often that if you're higher rank and someone lower is coming to you, if they don't see you as like a god or like with a ton of respect, then you are just going to punch them down. Even if they come with a ton of respect, you may even still punch down on them. At least all the media that I have consumed at this point, which is not a lot, to be fair. So, we go to this tournament and, then we have like a tournament. I do like the tournament. I like the rules. We have like a multi-stage tournament with rules that change, that more or less, try to see how these decks can fulfill these new rules or goals of the tournament as they switch. We have different aspects that are being tested. Like one is trickerying of more or less material. One of them is like to see how many of them are going to drop out if danger is afoot. And then we have like a straight up, battle at the end. Overall, the show lost me a little bit in the tournament because I have seen so many tournaments at this point in my life. It's very hard to get excited over them. This one, it is a little bit different. It is a little bit, stuff is happening. I do like the rules, especially we have like a system in place that is, because the tournament is not really there to, kill people. It is mostly, hey, fulfill the goal and hopefully you don't have to, really injure people badly. They have the whole system that you can yield, you can surrender, and then if someone attacks you after you surrendered, they get disqualified because they attack someone who is not part of the tournament. They get disqualified. Now, at the end, the whole surrender rule is removed, which, in my opinion, doesn't really make sense because now there's no reason to, not kill people even if they gave up, which was the whole goal, I assumed. That, hey, you can give up at any point. You get, you are losing the tournament, sure, but you are safe. In this case, you don't really have much safety. You can, one of the other rules, you can jump into the water and then more or less you lost the tournament. However, I don't know if you are safe. Never got explored in that way. If people could just attack you in the water if they wanted to. It's not like, but otherwise, we have a tournament. We get to see all the different trainers of our pavilion to shine, see how they fight, which is, very interesting. We have like a side quest, more or less, around the Shadow Cat, which was very sad, especially the ending. Stick around for the ending. Very, it brought me a couple tears, but I'm a sucker for like pets. And then we get to the final episode. This is only season 1. The final episode had like an upgrade in animations. The animation throughout the series was pretty good. You had like, there were some comedic parts where you saved some animation budget, you use some other other styles to convey the comedy and amplify the comedy, like chibi modes and stuff, which works very well. The animation outside, whenever there was a fight, was very well done, very interesting. With all the different abilities that these pets have, very interesting fights you get to see. whenever we, the whole storyline around the, I believe it was the Ice Fox. Very interesting, very cool fight. The fights are mostly, no, the fights are not only mostly, but all the time they're pretty good fights, especially because you have the trainers that also take part in the fights, which is gives more dynamic instead of only having the pets fight. And you can have multiple pets in a battle as well, which is also really cool. You even have fights that are akin to like a raid, where you have all of these pets fight like one big guy, which is really cool. You have there's a lot of really cool fights. The pets, really cool pets. One of them, as example, is like a big dragon, which is fucking awesome. I would say something along Chinese dragon, not Western dragon, naturally. To the last episode here, why the animation of the rest of the show was pretty good. The last episode was on a different level. This is the animation of the rest of the show was a good 8, sometimes 9, depending on the fights, depending on how much they wanted to do. And then you have the last episode, which just is, it's not even the same bracket of rating. It's insane how much they animate in the last episode. It's it is really, really, really good. It's on the same level as other really good animated fights, which was very surprising. I did not expect. The last episode also is a little bit longer. Yeah, the animation really, really good. Characters, I mean, it's not my culture, it's not how I grew up. There are some aspects that I cannot identify with, like the whole brotherhood type of thing, the family type of, the family type of relationship that some of these people can have. I believe Korea has a similar system. It's if you have a good friend, you can call them a brother or so. And you more or less are like brothers, and you fight together, die together, that kind of thing. I don't really, get that too much. Character-wise, we have a lot of different characters. We have mostly, at least our side has mostly positive characters. They do have a negative aspect. The guy, as example, with the Shadow Cat. He had some, negative parts, naturally. You also see the other characters that have at least the 2 girls in the group. You see them, battling with inadequacy because, how the story happens, how they are placed in the sect. They feel a little bit inadequate. And then we had Fang Ling Xiao, supporting them in the past, and they grow and show how well they do in the tournament. Especially our cooking girl. I feel like she's one of the strongest characters into the show, and has some kind of backstory. This is the part. There's a lot of backstory that is missing that I would like to know. As example, Liu Feng Mang. His backstories, there's some, sus aspects. However, there seems to be an explanation. I would like to know what really happened. The same with, I do not remember all the character names. I'm so sorry. You see all the different pets. The doggy, the catfish, a snake. I have no idea who that was. Do we not? Okay. We don't even have the character here. Okay, cool. Whatever. Oh, whatever. the cooking girl, she has like a past. We get like glimpses of that, but we don't really know what happened. There was something really fucked up happening though, and I would like to know more about that, because she's, from all the characters, she's more or less on the sideline. However, you know, it's always shown, hey, she seems to be special, which, you know, could be very interesting to see what the past was. We have a couple of other characters. We get to see some of their past. So these are not like, you know, two-dimensional characters, which is nice to see. Naturally, we are mostly interested in our main guy, Tianxia. He is like the typical, quotation mark, typical master. He's stoic. He's not really over-expressive, at least from what we have seen at this point. Very stoic. You know, he has wisdom. He shares. He's very strong. He can, you know, go toe-to-toe with anyone. We see some of these examples where he just, you know, more or less dumpsters people. However, he, you know, he's always trying to teach why these things happening. The typical, that is why I would call it the typical master you see in maybe like a sect, a dojo, pavilion. Apart from that, we do have like one of my characters, Liansu. She's very, you know, she has some interest in specific parts. I mean, she seems, because one of the pictures has her and, you know, the current head of the pavilion, Tianxia pavilion. And, you know, it seems like both of them could be interested in our guy at some point. So, especially because, you know, we have like different, it feels like, and don't take it as a negative, more as a positive, it feels a little bit better shonen-like. The whole fight, the interactions, how we, you know, we get stronger. And, you know, two girls maybe interested in our main guy. We have like a more, you know, cute girl that is a little bit more, you know, quote unquote normal, which she's not, she's a little bit reserved. Not normal, reserved is what I was looking for. And then we have like the other girl who is a little bit, you know, a little bit tsundere. She, you know, she has a high cut, you know, piece of, not skirt, but dress. You know, she is shown as a little bit more, you know, sexy. So, you know, we want to cover our bases in these shows. We also have like a growing system. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm yapping too much naturally. We have, I feel like this is the Chinese version of like the levels we have in like RPGs from like level 1 to 10. From what I know about the media I have consumed, in China they have like a bracket more or less of power where you have levels, and if you get to the end of the levels you can then do a huge jump, which is very hard to do, to upgrade to the next bracket. And then you have the little levels in that, and then you do again a very hard to do jump to the next bracket and levels, more or less get the levels up in that to, you know, continue going leveling up in the brackets. I assume we have the same system here. It is very hard to internalize because the names of the quote-unquote brackets are a little bit, they are not what I can internalize in a specific order, because they are named, the brackets are named, and it is hard to understand which name is higher and which is lower. So, you know, a little bit harder to understand for me. However, I believe they have the same system that in that bracket you have like different stages or level, and then if you get to the end, you have to do a big jump to get to the next bracket, and you get a huge power increase. And I believe this is what China likes to do in like a leveling system in the end, which, you know, takes a little bit to get used to. Overall, I like the idea, especially because if you have internalized the system, it is very easy to see, hey, the levels are pretty easy to grow in. However, to upgrade this bracket to break through is always shown as really hard. There's like always a wall to then go into the next bracket. Sometimes you have also these walls inside the leveling system itself, inside the bracket itself, but most of the time it's like this huge jump. It's similar to like in Dragon Ball. I hope people know Dragon Ball. When you are Super Saiyan, you know, there are different people are differently strong in that range. The only real characteristic is you have blonde hair, but if you get that huge boost to Super Saiyan 2, that is insane. You are now like double, triple the strength of like a normal Super Saiyan. However, it takes a lot to do this jump. And similarly, I feel like it's like the Chinese system of power strength. I don't know. I assume Dragon Ball copied the Chinese system. I don't know which one, you know, was first. But that is neither here nor there. Overall, I love the pets. Pets are highlight. Animation is very good. Last episode is insane. Characters are fine. The master is the best character, to be honest. There are a couple other characters that are interesting, especially female characters. However, we don't really get a lot of backstory. We do spend a lot of time fighting, so we don't get too much evolution in the characters themselves. The pavilion system is solid. I like the tournament. I like the rules of the tournament, apart from that one little rule. The anime did lose me a little bit in the tournament because, you know, tournaments are fine. Voice acting, most of the time, solid. I felt a couple times it was, you know, it was falling off a little bit. Now, this is my ignorance speaking. I don't really know Chinese, who would have thought? But I believe in Chinese is a very is a language that your intonation is very important. I don't know how difficult it is to, you know, voice act with emotion without, you know, changing what you want to say. I have no idea. But it feels like that maybe this is going to hold them back a little bit. Also, this anime, because I don't know Chinese, I have to read what is being said. I have to read what is on the screen, and sometimes these are just too quick to read, so I have to, you know, rewind and then pause at the right spot. I had the same problem in like solo leveling. I hated solo leveling with their like millisecond pop-ups. Total shit. But here, you know, maybe I'm going to get better at it. We will see in the future. Don't really have much else negative. I'm not really big music guy. I did like the ending and music. It's just a little nice little, you know, upbeat song. Very nice at the end. Any list, let's see, gave it a 77%. My enemy list 7.7. I would say, after all the yapping, a very solid 8 out of 10. So like, you know, like an 8.5 out of 10. Very solid show, very enjoyable. If you have not checked this one out, definitely give it a shot. Pet system, again, I like the pets. Pets are awesome. The fighting is very well done. The last episode alone is just insane. So, you know, this is season 1. I assume we get season 2 at some point. Very solid 8 out of 10. A little bit a shame that not more people have checked this one out. We only have like 3k votes on my enemy list, which, you know, in my opinion, a little bit low. I would like to see this at least like double, but maybe the next season.